Hello friends, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicki and you're with Grammy in the Kitchen. Today is actually Thanksgiving Day. I apologize that this is coming to you late, but you can use these same techniques from the two videos in this series for any family gathering or holiday celebration. So we're going to start this morning cooking and finishing what we did yesterday. So I took dinner rolls out of the freezer. I work in a restaurant. We make our own dinner rolls. And I knew I wasn't going to have time to make my own homemade dinner rolls, which I do prefer. So I just got some from the restaurant, put them in the freezer. I took them out this morning. I coated them down with some coconut oil, and I have them sitting on parchment paper on a baking sheet with saran wrap on top, letting them thaw and rise. And we had an apple pie in the freezer. This is a homemade apple pie with apples that I picked back in the summer, and we made apple pie. Right now we're going to start working on our stuffing. Even though I'm not stuffing the turkey, or in my case the chicken, we still call it stuffing. So if you remember, we cooked some vegetables and some chicken stock. We got that out of the refrigerator. And in this bowl, I'm going to add our homemade bread that we did yesterday. I do have a jar of home canned chicken stock here in case this is not going to be enough liquid. This is our chicken stock we used when we cooked our vegetables. Give that a stir. I hydrate those dry breadcrumbs without making them mushy. This is the same one. We're going to add a good pinch of pepper. And you remember our chicken stock, when we made our no cost, no waste chicken stock, we didn't add no seasoning to that. A little bit of sage right here. We're going to add that in there. But that's okay, I got more. And this is poultry seasoning. I am going to be adding probably a tablespoon. Get that mixed up in there. And I think I will have to use some more chicken stock in this. Put about a cup in there. That's okay, because we can use this for a gravy, because we're actually going to make homemade gravy today also. I'm going to taste it to see if it needs any more salt or pepper. Definitely. I'm going to add some more poultry seasoning. It needs a lot of salt. And pepper. I think I'm just going to go in there with my hands. I always make sure you start off with clean hands. very well hydrated. I have some homegrown, home dried and crushed sage. So I'm just going to add a tablespoon and a half. Perfect. I have a casserole dish right here. We're going to coat it with some oil. It's probably about a teaspoon. Got a paper towel. I'm going to coat the sides and the bottom very well with the oil. I am pushing it down, but I'm not packing it. Just want to evenly distribute in the pan. So the stuffing is done, and we're just going to leave it right here until we're ready to bake it. And our spatchcock chicken is out of the refrigerator. So the plan for this is we're going to heat a Dutch oven on the stovetop with some oil. Once the oil gets hot, we're going to put the chicken in breast side down to brown that skin. We're going to probably leave it there for about 30 minutes. In the meantime, we'll have the oven on for 400 degrees, warming up so that when we're ready to flip this chicken over breast side up, we'll stick it in the oven for about an hour. And because we're doing it at a high temperature, we're actually going to use avocado oil and not olive oil. Avocado oil has a higher heat point or a higher smoke point. Now, while we're waiting for the Dutch oven to heat up, we're going to go ahead and finish preparing our chicken. Now, we do have a butter, herb, garlic under the skin, but we need to season the skin. So I have some salt and some pepper. We're just waiting for the oil to do some shimmering so we know it's hot enough and ready to receive that chicken. I believe we are ready. We have the lid on to hold the heat in, and I'll bring you back in about 30 minutes. Go ahead and get some vegetables ready to put in this Dutch oven when we're ready to flip the breast side up. So I have an onion, just going to cut them in half and then quarter these. I have one very large carrot, one medium-sized carrot. I'm just going to cut that one in fours. Cut this in threes. So our vegetables are ready. I had the temperature too high, and we actually cooked the skin side for 20 minutes. Now we're going to add our vegetables to the bottom. This will just help keep the chicken from sitting on the bottom of this Dutch oven. And I will add some aromatics also. Alright, now we're going to put our chicken back in our Dutch oven. So this time we're going to have breast up. He's already trying to fall apart on me here. Look at the beautiful color it created. We're going to put the lid on and then we're going to stick it in the oven. Check the temperature in 1 hour. Okay, the chicken is in the oven, and while that's cooking, I decided we're going to go ahead and cook our potatoes. These are the potatoes we peeled and chopped yesterday and stuck in the refrigerator with water. I just drained that water off. I've got clean water in this pot. If you're starting off with cold potatoes, you start off with cold water. Turn the heat on to medium. I like garlic in my potatoes, so these are the preserved garlics we did in vinegar. I'm going to add 3 cloves. Put a lid on it. And we're going to let those come to a boil and cook till tender. Potatoes are done. I'm going to strain these in the sink that's behind you. I'm going to just put it back in the same pot. We're going to add about 3 tablespoons of butter. I have some Parmesan I'm going to shred in there. I like cheesy mashed potatoes. That's about 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. We're going to add some salt. And some pepper. Go ahead and add some milk. Well, depending on how chunky you like your potatoes, you can actually put this in a blender or a hand mixer and use that. We like ours just a little bit on the chunky side. Always taste as you go. Need salt. And some pepper. Perfect. Perfect. I'm just going to leave this on the stove top. And we only got about 10 more minutes on the chicken. It has been 50 minutes. We're going to check the temperature. We're going to go into the thigh. Thigh needs to be 165 to 170 degrees. We are way over 180. Let's check the breast. this chicken is done. We're going to let it sit there with the lid off, let it cool off before we take it out of the pan. We're going to reduce the oven to 350. Once that reaches 350, we're going to go ahead and put our stuffing and our sweet potatoes in the oven. This is the sweet potatoes we made last night. I'm going to go ahead and take the saran wrap off. Since we didn't taste this yesterday, let's taste it today. See if it needs anything to it. I think it needs a little bit more syrup. I'm going to add a little bit more maple syrup on top. Now I did take this out of the refrigerator and had it sitting on the counter for 1 hour because you don't want to put a cold pan in a hot oven. So it is at room temperature. I raised the shelf up to be medium high. And we're going to go ahead and put the stuffing and the sweet potatoes in the oven. And we're going to let that cook 1 hour. Let's go ahead and get our gravy going. So we'll put about a tablespoon of olive oil and about 2 tablespoons of butter. We're going to let the butter melt in the oil, and then we're going to add flour, and that is called a roux. Cornstarch with water is called a slurry. Alright, so our butter is melted. Because we have 3 tablespoons of fat, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of flour. We're just going to cook that raw flour taste out. We're going to go ahead and start building our flavors. We have some salt and some pepper. I'm going to add some garlic powder, about a half of a teaspoon, and onion powder, again a half of a teaspoon. This is the remainder of the chicken stock from the dressing. It's about 3 cups. Pour it very slow and whisk it in. That prevents lumps. And we'll let just that heat up and thicken. It is not as thick as I like my gravy. It's getting there. So I am adding a slurry. This is cornstarch. So 1 teaspoon of cornstarch and 1 tablespoon of cold water. I'm only going to be adding a little bit at a time. Right, the gravy's done. Let's go ahead and get this chicken out of this pan. It is going to fall apart. So that's a leg quarter. lock in the heat, we're going to go ahead and cover this up with aluminum foil until we're ready to serve it. About 30 minutes into the cooking, I like to give the stuffing a good toss, just so the bottom doesn't get too crispy and the sides get too crispy and the middle gets done. I'm just tossing it up, fluffing it, as you would say. Let's give it a taste. That is good. Alright, we'll put it back in the oven. We're going to go ahead and take the aluminum foil off of the potatoes. And we're going to remove the aluminum foil off of the stuffing so it can continue cooking. Now we're going to put our dinner rolls in the oven. Go ahead and add some marshmallows to our sweet potato casserole. And when the rolls are ready, we'll put this in the oven and get the top toasted. So that is what we're having for Thanksgiving dinner. We have our chicken right here, our stuffing with the homemade bread here, gravy, our 2 compound butters, we have rolls, we have sweet potato casserole with marshmallows, mashed potatoes. Got the apple pie in the oven, that's going to take an hour, and we still have the pumpkin pie and the chocolate cake in the refrigerator. I just want to say thank you for spending the last 2 days with me as we prepare a small Thanksgiving dinner with leftovers for 2 people. I hope y'all have a blessed day, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.